What's up, everybody? Now let's get into this new episode of Teen Mom 2. I have found out that if I break the segments down and just do girl by girl, it's easier than going through the entire episode because literally most of these girls only have like one or two segments. Like Kale had two segments. So I'm going to start with her, okay? It opens up with her at her house. She's sitting down and she calls her monotone co-host for Coffee Convos, Lindsay. And she's like, yo, Lindsay, I see that we're going to be flying out to Atlanta, your hometown, to record some episodes. So I was wondering if you wanted to have Devon on because we've been getting an overwhelming amount of messages to have Devon on the podcast. So Lindsay's like, yeah, I think I like that. And I've seen these messages too. And honestly, I think Kel was being a little petty because the fans started bringing up the idea of Devon getting on the Single Dads podcast with Chris Lopez. And I feel like she saw this and she was like, no, you're not going to. Me running my page, I definitely saw that people wanted Chris Lopez and Devon to jump on the podcast and talk about their woes of being a single dad. But she reached out to Devon and was like, hey, will you come on the podcast? I got way more viewers than this fool over here. And of course, Devon said yes, he would. Kale is always being petty about something. I'm sorry, she just always is. Like, it's petty at the end of the day. People were like, no, Devon and Kale are friends. That's a reach. That's a stretch. They are not friends. So anyway, Devon agrees and Devon flies out to Atlanta. I think they're at Lindsay's house or maybe they're at Airbnb to do the podcast. I really don't know. And it's a little awkward between all three of them. They're like, yeah, we're fine. How are you? We take this picture in this coffee convo sweater. And he's like, sure. And they're like, well, how do you think all of this is going to play out? And he's like, whatever. I don't care. It's not going to be bad for me. Like, Brianna's probably going to put out an article, but so what? They sit down, ask about, his real name being Devon and how he takes care of Nova, what he likes to do. He says he likes to cook. He has these cooking videos with Nova and stuff like that, which MTV plays. So it was a pretty good podcast overall. But literally, that's it for Kale. Like, those were the two segments. He came on Coffee Combos. And the way they played it out on social media before the episode aired, it seemed very scandalous and very, oh, I know Kale didn't and stuff like this. And Kale being petty and blah, blah, blah. But the episode was really anticlimactic. Like, I think I fell asleep. Anyway. Okay, so let's switch to Leah. She had 4 segments on the show last night. So it starts off, of course, with this awkward exchange between her and Corey. Like always, the girls are having fun with Corey in the back seat, cracking jokes on him. Then she pulls up and it's just like, eh. So they have a short back and forth and he just asks her how she feels and stuff like that. And she says, I'm better. I can't believe Jeremy had COVID, but he's getting better. Everybody's good. How was the girl's birthday party? Because they had to do like a small intimate birthday party with no guests invited. So I guess, maybe Corey splurged on them, invited them a whole bunch of stuff to the house. I don't know. So they get into the car and she's like, yeah, well, the girls are going to have, a COVID birthday party. So they're going to just call all of their friends on Zoom. So they decorated the whole house. It was kind of cute, They decorated the whole house for their birthday. They had fun with it. They called their friends and family on Zoom. They had a dance party. It was really cute. Leah stepping it up now. The next day, she meets up with her sister and they start talking about the menstrual talk. So she asked her sister, when did she first get her period? And her sister says in the 4th grade. And I want to talk about that in the comment section, you guys. Like, the 4th grade, that seemed kind of young to me. Like, I couldn't even imagine having to deal with something like that from the time I was in the 4th grade until like my late 30s, early 40s. Like, please, Lord. Anyway, so they're talking about this and she's like, yeah, well, my mom did not prepare me. Our mothers did not prepare us for this talk about when that day comes. And I don't want my girls to be terrified because both Leah and her sister claimed that they were terrified. They found out in school and, they were crying and hysterical and stuff like that. And I think it's a good idea that she did talk to her girls about this and she sits them down and talks about it. And it wasn't awkward at all. The girls, they're very mature. They understood. They said, they were grateful for having this conversation and it wasn't awkward. They asked a couple of questions about mood swings and stuff like that. And Leah said, your body's going to be changing over the next couple of years and everything is perfectly normal. Then she goes back to say that her mom did not prepare her for anything like this. And she's glad that she's taken the time out to do that for her girls. Now, we already know that Leah's mom has been on some BS since Leah released that book saying everything that her mom did to her and, back in the day, and it's so salacious, and it's just like, I don't even want to talk about it. But I commend, Leah, because when I saw the preview for this Little Birds and the Bees talk, I was like, well, this seems awkward. But her girls were very mature, and they were not grossed out, and they were not like, Mom, like, I don't want to talk about this. Maturity is just there with those girls. I don't know. So let's move on. Alright, so Brianna and Jade's segments are mashed together. MTV decides to do a crossover because Jade is traveling down to Florida to get a BBL, arm lipo, 360, front and back, and I think leg lipo. Don't quote me, I'm not sure. The doctor was going so fast with how many things she was going to get, like a chin lipo and all that other stuff. And I guess MTV thought, hey, since Brianna lives in Florida, we'll do a crossover episode because Brianna has had at least 4 BBLs. I think she looks the same after every BBL, but she's literally had like 4 BBLs because she refuses to maintain it and go to the gym. Like, it's just a lot of work that Dr. Miami has done to her and a lot of butchering of the body before 30 that I feel that's a little too much, you know what I'm saying? But anyway, MTV decides, oh yeah, y'all can hook up because Brianna's had 4 BBLs for free. So they decide to do that, and Brianna's telling her, like, it's going to hurt. You have no idea what you're getting yourself into. You need a support system. You're not going to be able to wash yourself the next day. You don't need anybody that's going to stress you out there. You're going to need your pain meds, stuff like that. So Jade is getting a little anxious because she has anxiety and panic disorder, and she's like, I hope they read my chart and they see that I have anxiety and panic disorder. And, I hope they give me something to relax me as soon as I walk through the door because I just want to, get it over with. So Brianna asks her mom to babysit the girls per usual so she can go and support Jade because Jade is getting this big house. She's taking her whole entire family. And I just hope that they're going to be a good support and not stress her out like they do when they're back home. You know what I'm saying? So Devons is talking to his friend. By now he's already been to Atlanta, but the friend is asking him, what is he doing this weekend? And he's like, yeah, I'm doing a podcast with Kale in Atlanta, and I gotta fly out. And he's like, who's Kale? Like, the friend don't fucking know. And he's like, yeah, Brianna used to fuck her baby daddy. And the friend is sitting there so confused. And then MTV does this flashback to 3 years ago when Javi and Brianna were together. Very sensational. Very sensational. Nothing like that will probably ever happen on Teen Mom again. Brianna's the GOAT for that. I'm not even gonna lie. So they do this flashback, and like Devon is like, yeah, I don't give a fuck. I'm going on the podcast. Like, I'll tweet right now from my phone, forget Bri, because I don't care. She calls me a bad dad all the time anyway. So Brianna and her BBL bestie friend Shirley are driving to their Airbnb, which MTV definitely paid for. They claim they're going to meet up with Jade later. And then Jade, in the meantime, goes to see her nurse. And the nurse runs down everything that's going to happen the next day. It's kind of weird to me that Jade was not allowed to see the doctor until the day of the surgery. Like, that would have been like a red flag for me. Like, when did she have a consultation? She had a consultation maybe online or with the nurse, and they communicated back and forth via nurse instead of her being able to communicate with her doctor. It just seemed a little fishy. Like, I don't get to meet you until the day of my surgery. What if I don't like what you're talking about on the day of my surgery? But anyway, the nurse goes through everything, tells her she's going to get the chin lipo, the arm lipo, the 360, the BBL, the fat transfer to the breasts. It was a long list of stuff, and that she was going to have drains at the bottom of her stomach, and she was going to need somebody to basically do everything for her for the next couple of days. So Brianna and Shirley are settling down at the Airbnb, and then Jade shows up, and they have the hey, how you doing kind of kumbaya. And then Brianna asks about Sean, and she's like, I don't know, he asked me to marry him, but I said no. And they're like, why didn't you say yes? And she's like, well, I'll take the ring, but that don't mean I want to marry him. Like, he ain't even get my right size. They just start gagging and kikiing about the fact that Jade doesn't want to get married because she's unsure where she is with Sean. And I get it. Do not get married unless you 100% know this is who you want to be with for the rest of your life. If you got them doubts, y'all don't need to be getting married. But Brianna says, you're kind of leading him on. Which I don't necessarily think that she's leading him on. I just don't think that she knows what she wants in life herself. I don't know. Them two got to get it together. I just feel like they're afraid to leave each other and actually break up for good because of the unknown. So she heads on home to settle down for the night. She gets, Chloe something to eat. And then she's talking to Sean about how nervous she is and how Brianna was saying that it's going to hurt. And are you sure you're going to have my back? Are you sure you're going to be there? And he's like, yes, I'm going to be there. I'm going to be wiping your tail. I'm going to be everything. I'm not going to leave your side. She then talks about her mom and how they think that the mom should go get the medication. And Jay's like, yeah, she better not be fucking around. I better have my medication. And I just wonder, was it a good idea to send your mom, that's like a recovering addict, to go get your pain meds, Jade? Like, that's just way too much temptation. I think that Jade has cut her parents completely off, so I cannot wait to see how this plays out. Teen Mom, please stop dragging this situation and just let us know if Jade Mama ran off with the pills or not, because in the next episode, that's what it seems like happened. But okay, last but not least, Bar and Ashley. Okay, so Bar and Ashley start off by driving in the car. Don't know where they're going. Holly is getting a little upset because she wanted candy and then she got chocolate everywhere. It was a really, really cute scene. And then they start talking about court and if Bar is going to get his ankle monitor off because he has a DWI or a DUI. I think it's a DUI. So he can't drive, so they say. And Ashley has been driving everywhere, at least faking like she's driving everywhere, because I didn't see Bar behind that wheel so many times. But for MTV, we're going to say that he has not been driving dirty. So she's like, I'm tired of driving Bar around. He's going to have to get on the bus because this is not what I do. Like, he should have thought about putting himself in that situation before he did it, and I wouldn't be having to drive him everywhere. So then they get back to the house and they are discussing his upcoming court, and he's not taking it too serious. And she's like, listen, you need to take it serious because a lot of people behind bars for way more or for way less and actually doing time. And Bar's like, yeah, I do need to take it serious. His brother is in jail, I think, for life. So he definitely does need to take anything serious when it comes to court. And she's like, yeah, he's a black male. You never know if he's going to go in the court and come out. So she sits down and talks with her friend, and they're talking about the same thing about Bar's ankle monitor. And she just wishes that, the judge would hurry up and give a decision. And she also says that she would never do something like that, and that she told Bar that is the last time that you make a decision negatively for this household, and I just sit back and accept it. And I'm like, girl, yes, I am woman, hear me roar. Like, I ain't got time for this BS. Nah, don't come back to this house with more crap, even though we all know how that worked out. But anyway, so yeah, she's just like, yeah, if I came into the house and I'm like, babe, I'm in trouble, I'm running from the police, she said Bar would have a fucking fit. And I believe it. So the next day or the next segment, whatever, he's getting ready, he goes to court, and then he comes back and he's disappointed, and he says that it got continued for another 2 weeks. And Ashley's like, yeah, okay, I guess, which is very typical of cases like this. They really just don't want to deal with it, and they be having like a whole ass load of work on their table, especially if he has a public defendant. It usually gets carried on and on, stretching out for like a year and a half. It's really sad, but that's how the justice system works. It's not an expedited thing at all. So that is it for Teen Mom. I thought it was a complete snooze fest, and I almost passed out halfway through.